In the year 1492, Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain to find a new route to Asia. He traveled west, and by doing so, he and his crew, which was financed by the King and Queen of Spain, made landfall in what is now called the Bahamas. Columbus thought he had reached the outskirts of Asia and the Indies. When he and his crew disembarked, their ship, the first thing Columbus did was draw his sword, pointed it into the ground, and proclaimed the land for Spain. The Lucayan people were already inhabitants of the land, and he noted in his diary that the people were well-formed, with handsome bodies and good-looking faces, and that his intent was to overtake them. For Christopher Columbus thought that he and his crew were the first to discover what would be termed the New World. But was it a new world? On this episode of Places and Nature, we will explore some history. Who was in the Americas first? Leif Erikson was the first known European to come to the Americas. He and his crew landed in present-day Newfoundland, Canada, around the year 1000. That's almost 500 years before Columbus's 1492 voyage. They vaguely teach that in school books. The 1492 discovery has always been more popular.
Even less taught, though many of us know by now, is that there were Native Americans already living in the places that were supposed to be discoveries.
The natives came from Asia. They were nomads, going from place to place. It is believed they crossed Siberia in Russia and crossed the Bering Strait when it froze over in the winter. They followed the food source, and they migrated to North America. And they continued to migrate south. These versions of discovery are accepted by the masses. Of course, there's one more version. The African descendants state they were already in the Americas before anyone else. The people of Africa had knowledge of sailing long before Columbus's discovery, but historians reject the idea that people from West Africa reached the Americas first. However, Christopher Columbus noted in his journal that the natives claimed black people came regularly to trade with them. They came from the south and southeast, and they traded spearheads made of an alloy of gold, silver, and copper. Such metal matches West African metallurgy. And there is the story of Mansa Abu Bakari setting out to sea with 2,000 ships after he abdicated his Mali throne. This was in 1311, but there is no documented proof that he and his ships ever made it to another land. European descendants maintain that the first permanent Africans arrived in the Americas as slaves from Angola. But whoever was here first, before the Europeans, it didn't matter to them, because their intent was to dominate and never share the land. Their only goal was riches and wealth. They took over by way of the sword. Documented evidence of African contribution to the world before European explorers was destroyed. The natives that they took the land from have somewhat better light shed on the fact that they were in the Americas before the European. The only conclusion to be had is that it is a known fact that the European was not the first people in the Americas, but they claimed to discover it.